Hey!
Hi, this is Dr. Chrystene.
And Dr. Colin.
And we are your co-hosts for the exciting new podcast called
Love, Scrubs, and Stories,
where we dive deep into the world of dating and relationships and go beyond the people wearing the white coats, the scrubs, and the stethoscopes.
Come join us on this journey where we engage in dialogue and share stories of love, heartbreak, resilience, and triumphs. And we also navigate our professional lives with our hearts on our sleeves.
Please remember to subscribe and hit the notification button to stay up to date on all future episodes.
And we look forward to seeing you inside. Hey guys, welcome to our first episode of Love, Scrubs, and Stories. I'm your co-host, Dr. Colin Zhu, and this is
Dr. Chrystene Nguyen.
And we're really, really excited for you guys to join us. We have so much to talk about, but we decided to take this first introductory episode and really just introduce ourselves, get into it, why did we create this? And, really talk about the elephant in the room, which is the difficulty of dating within medicine. So, Dr. Chrystene, I'll let you introduce yourself first. Who are you? What are you doing here? And why do we create this?
Well, thank you, Dr. Colin. So I'm a family physician in Southern California. And this all came about, during the COVID quarantine, where the importance of community and social connection, became a very pivotal point in our lives. And I developed a Facebook group called White Coat Romance. Quickly became a space for socializing, a lot of friendships, and even sparked some romance. And then from there was a need, interest for the greater White Coat Romance community to form more connections. So I developed a dating app by the same name for a much wider audience. So, and I'm excited to have met you during this process. So please share with us your story, Dr. Colin.
Well, thank you for sharing. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Colin Zhu. I'm also the founder of TheChefDoc. And so I created the platform going on 6 years now. I'm also board certified in family medicine as well as lifestyle medicine. And TheChefDoc was really born out of the need to give more help and resource and support for not just our physical health, but also for mentally and emotionally, and creating a thriving mindset. I'm obsessed with really about thriving. And so a lot about, what I do is self-care, personal development, and self-empowerment. And so we came together, we just kind of threw this idea. I was like, wouldn't it be great to, have a podcast, just talking about the ins and outs of dating, relationships, and, everything in between, but also talking about self-care and what it means to navigate that through our career of medicine and healthcare, and how do we get back to ourselves?
Yeah, and being physicians and, in our communities consisting of healthcare professionals, we're in a very unique position when it comes to dating and relationships. And there's just been a lot of difficulties in how we navigate this world. And you and I have, become friends and met through this process, and actually really should share the story of how
share the story of how we met.
So Colin's really cute. And so he had, I don't know if you remember this, but this is almost 2 years ago. You had messaged me through Messenger and sent me an email, said, really cutely, like, hi, I'm Colin. You don't know me, but, I heard you on a podcast and I'm part of your White Coat Romance community. Just wanted to introduce myself and that, you and I have this common bond, also being part of the world of lifestyle medicine, but mine is more like a recent love and interest. And I've learned a lot from you. So thank you for all that. And then we met together through like a group dinner. And since then, like, you just easily have like hit it off and just have become really good friends and have been able to sort of like work together and just kind of diving into the world of, aside from lifestyle medicine, but the world of entrepreneurship and just thinking about like all the different ways that we can contribute to our community and the value that we, want to bring and make our contribution to our community.
Exactly.
So that's what's really brought us together.
Yeah, lifestyle medicine definitely was the peak of interest and conversation of us coming together, but we share so much. We're people of color, similar backgrounds. We're both entrepreneurs. We're both hustlers. We both think outside of the box. And I think we both, if I can, say this, we both love, and we just love the idea and the nuances of dating and relationships. And we just find it, fascinating, just also being a participant in love, but also witnessing and hearing stories. I know I have traversed so much, with dating and relationships, and I know you have as well, Chrystene, and we just decided to, share. So why don't we talk about the elephant in the room? And that's, if I had to sum it up in one sentence, it's, the difficulty of dating within the world of medicine. So why don't you start off? I think perfectionism is the first thing that we think about, right? So what is it about perfectionism in the world of medicine, and how does that influence, your dating from your perspective?
Oh my goodness, you're absolutely right. So perfectionism, I mean, it's ingrained in us, like through our training. Like if you think about it, the profession expects us and demands of us perfectionism, because in a lot of situations we're dealing with life and death situations, and so everything that we do or don't do, can play a huge role in someone's life, in our patients' lives. And so, and because of that, and along with all the protocols that we have to follow, that our life, whether we're inside the clinic or the hospital or not, because the reality is, like, once you leave that world and into your personal lives, that it's really hard to like be able to split between the two worlds, because it's really a part of our identity. And so it's really like a part of our being. And so it's so hard when it comes to dating relationships to leave that part of us out. And so we sometimes, we can't help it, although I know that's a weak excuse, but that's why I think it's important to address some of these issues and these topics and some of the common themes that you and I have experienced, and also our community as well. So I'm glad you asked.
Yeah. I think it provides, what healthcare and medicine has done is provide a very, we have standardizations, we have guidelines, we have protocols to follow, but it can make someone very rigid, right? And very strict, very super focused, laser focused, because it is life and death. It is very challenging experiences, right? And it is hard to be able to separate, because a good example would be if you're on an airplane and something happens on the airplane. It's not like, oh, I've already clocked out, let me not and just be a, passenger and just witness, someone having a heart attack or a cardiac arrest, right? And so, it's hard to turn off. And so that can leak, it depends on how good you are, that can leak into your personal life. So tell me a little bit about, time and just the busyness of it. Some of us, and we're going to have amazing guests. We're going to have, guest stories. We're going to have guest experts. And, for those that are not in the healthcare profession, it consumes a lot of our time. If you do shift work, right? You could be an ungodly hours, graveyard shifts, second swings, and it could take a toll. You could be an OBGYN, you can be an ER doc, and you can just be on call all the time. And you need to leave on a moment's notice, or a phone call or a beeper's notice. Do they still have pagers, right? Pagers, beepers, they still have that, right? I know when I was training, we still had that. So
I know our millennials and Gen Zers are going to be like, what is that?
Oh, a notification,
What is that?
It's like, oh, I have to be called in.
What is that? What is that antique object you have there? But yeah, time, we're just busy individuals. We're busy professionals between our schedules that we have. And, the hours are not like your typical, necessarily like your Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, depending on the clinical setting that you work in. But aside from that, a lot of us have like what I call homework, right? Especially like coming from the world of primary care, that your job doesn't end just because you clocked out, and even if you do shift work, there's still follow up. And I think also the mental load as well, for the care of our patients. And we tend to, take care of everybody else but ourselves. And I think that's just our nature, we take care of our patients, we take care of all our duties in our professional work. And then at home in our personal lives, like, we take care of our families, because they come to us, our family and our friends, because we're doctors. And so, and so in the end, like, I feel like we may not have a lot left to give to ourselves.
We sign up to be in the profession of helping others. So a lot of ways you are giving of yourself all the time. And so when you're not aware of that, it's that concept of, your cup being full, right? And we'll talk about this on self-care, topics and resilience topics later on, but it's making sure, and I love using mechanical and airplane analogies, but it's that oxygen mask that drops down from the safety protocol and making sure you put it on yourself before others. So it's super, super important. We sign up to serve others essentially. And so that is hard, not just to partition time, but also focus and be able to devote that to your romantic partner at the end of the day. So tell me about, checklists. Did you ever have a checklist? Does your colleagues have any checklists? Does your parents or your loved ones ever give you a checklist? And how has that influenced you?
Oh, don't we all love checklists, right? This is something guilty right here. Don't we all have the checklist? That's just like the world that we live in, right? And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of our the work that we do in our professional work bleeds into our personal lives. And when it comes to dating and relationships, naturally, I think a lot of us have these checklists that can be a good thing, but also, can not be such a great thing in terms of like closing out on a lot of potential possibilities that we may overlook because, what we think may work for us may not, what we think is the only way to go about things, which, we know that's not true at all. But I think part of it is just being busy. Part of it is thinking you know what you want. But I think it's always good to sort of reevaluate sort of like that whole process, and just checking in with ourselves because we all grow and mature over time. Our life experiences can take us down different paths. And I think it's important to recognize that as we grow, that we also reevaluate our priorities, when it comes to, especially, in the setting of dating and relationships, that it's always good to have a check-in with ourselves, right? Because the better you get to know yourselves better, the higher the likelihood that you'll find that compatible partner
sure
that's for you. Yeah.
For sure. And, I think about this in terms of two categories, chemistry and compatibility. And I think to be able to evolve that process, it's like you said, really knowing, thyself. And I think when you're signing up, especially for physicians and doctors, you kind of sign away your 20s, right? And so the 20s is kind of like your period of socialization, not just with your peers and other people, but also with the world, gaining that life experience. And so when you don't have that as much or as many as your non-medical colleagues and peers and friends and loved ones, it presents a very interesting type of dating dynamic and environment. But yeah, I think that's, very, very important to really know thyself. So the checklist, I think we'll definitely have an episode dedicated on the checklist.
Yeah, I think we'll have a lot more to talk about that. Lots of great points. So Colin, what are some of the difficulties you've had that you've encountered dating as a physician? Or just as an individual being, an Asian male physician specifically.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Being a person of color, Asian descent, I'm a first generation immigrant child. So I was born in the States, I grew up as an American, me and my younger sister, and then my parents are immigrants that came in the early 80s. Very, very vast difference in terms of generation, culture, customs, just the value system of growing up as a Chinese person. My parents are both Chinese and as an American. And so a lot of the times, it's not so much the identity crisis growing up, but it's almost like you have one foot on both sides of the door. And so you're constantly, I knew growing up, as you're dating, like, which one do I hug? Do I value this value more or the other? And then another thing that I ask myself constantly is like, okay, when I wanted this or when I'm anticipating this, is this me, wanting this, or is this another voice from an ancestor or a relative wanting this? So there's so many different dynamics, and it took some time to be able to kind of weed through that. What was that like culturally for you?
The Love, Girls, and Stories podcast is a collaboration and co-production between TheChefDoc and White Coat Romance.
The ChefDoc is a wellness platform that offers innovative approaches to thriving and offers a self-empowerment book, podcast series, on-demand masterclass series, as well as a brand new app. The app provides self-guided education such as food as medicine, self-care, and resilience. Coaching services are also available, whether you prefer one-on-one or group type settings. Please go now to your app store as well as Apple as Google Play to download for free.
White Coat Romance is a dating app for healthcare and health-related professionals and students in the US and Canada. It's a lively space where you can find love, companionship, and build meaningful connections with like-minded professionals. If you're single, go to the App Store and Google Play to download and join our vibrant community.
As we both serve these amazing communities, we also acknowledge the value of continuing education. Therefore, we're super excited to share an enticing opportunity with our listeners. Our episodes are continuing education eligible. That's right. You now have the opportunity to earn valuable credits while enjoying our content.
Rest assured, the episodes will always remain free as we are committed to supporting our communities and amplifying the voices of healthcare professionals. To get a better understanding of how this works, the first 3 episodes are free to obtain, then the rest of the podcast episodes are at a nominal cost.
So you might be asking who can earn credits? Well, physicians, nurses, nurse practitioners, physicians associates, pharmacists, dentists, as well as dietitians and dietetic technicians.
If you find yourself in need of CE credits, we kindly ask you to consider directing your CE funds towards supporting our cause. Your contribution would greatly help us nurture our podcast production and continue to bring you valuable content.
We are deeply grateful for your support. From all of us here at Love Scrubs and Stories Podcast, thank you so much for choosing us.
And enjoy the rest of this episode. Yeah, I can definitely relate with a lot of things that you said, just growing up in a family that's very traditional and just some of the, I think it's just the culture that we were raised in and what we were, a lot of us, we default to what's familiar, and to the way we were raised. And then for me, I think aside from that, being a female physician has its own host of
yes,
issues, if you want to call it that. We talk about some of the difficulties dating as a female physician and how society views us and some of the things that we encounter, in the dating world. And
female professional too, to add another layer of complexity, right? Because but not too many decades ago, you have a 1-income household. Now you have a 2-income household, and what that means, and females can be CEOs now, right? And what are the nuances that comes with that?
Yeah, certainly, I've had experiences where, I've heard from friends, oh, there's no way she would want to date me. She's a doctor, and
right.
From a non, male physician. And then in other instances, it's like, oh, she must be certain assumptions, probably more masculine in nature or more controlling. There's some of those stereotypes that's out there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But as we all know that, that's not true,
Right.
But I think it's tough when I think in our, in the professional world, I don't know if we want to say conduct ourselves a certain way because our profession expects us to be in that leadership position, which, I'm very grateful for. But I think, how the media can sometimes portray us. And we're out in the wild and dating and meeting people.
Out in the wild. All right.
So, there's certain assumptions of oh, she must be like this and this, or she probably wouldn't want to date me, or, and so just having to navigate those stereotypes and just beyond that, and then also just in the, we're talking about dating in the wild, and then there's also what's happening a lot, right? Dating on online dating apps, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of the modern, world of dating, and other things like encountering your patients as well on the dating apps. I don't know, have you encountered that? And I have, and that was very awkward.
I have not. I've encountered patients in that typical grocery setting, but never on a, dating app. That would be kind of weird. So tell me about, so to kind of share some anecdotes, with me, similarly, just having the title of physician intimidates people, right? I've definitely gotten that. And I pride myself, and I really ask this of my, friends from childhood growing up that we're still really, really good friends now. Have I changed over time? And, I come from a really humble, beginnings, as well as, being raised really well. And I pride myself on just being myself and really coming across as authentic and honest as much as possible. And, I don't want my title to precede that or to kind of give some sort of notion that, I'm up here or down here or anything like that. You're just a person at the end of the day. You're one person meeting another person and you're trying to see if something clicks, right?
Yeah.
So I've definitely had that. And then also the experience of, the other person not being in the medical field, just not understanding where you're coming from. And so, they may or may not, you can see really quickly, they may or may not, develop sympathy or compassion, right? From that, right? And just because they're not in your world, you can still develop, some sort of understanding or, acceptance. And that's been challenging, throughout my time. What about you?
Yeah, certainly. Absolutely. I think for me, it's just, part of it, I think, is just like learning about myself too in the process, of dating. So that's why I think dating is good, right? You want to get out there because in the process of dating, like you get to know yourself better, and by getting to know yourself better, then you come closer to the of who is a compatible person for you, And I think just going out there, and a lot of times, just as I mentioned earlier, like the assumptions, and also, interestingly enough, like, this is a social experiment. Like my girlfriend and I actually did this social experiment just to prove a point. It wasn't intended. It just so happened one night. And so we went to like a gathering, for singles, and she and I, on a whim, she's a physician, decided that, you know what? I don't know if like men are as drawn to female physicians. Why don't we be flight attendants just for tonight?
Oh my God.
We actually, yeah.
I love this.
So, we were like,
Wait, what airline did you choose?
So, well, let me get to that story. And so on a whim, we said, let's just do this. And we had never lied about our profession, like ever. Okay. And so we, like a group of guys approached us, and we decided you know what? I think men are into flight attendants. Let's be flight attendants.
You're both in the service industry.
Yeah. So we ran with it. And it started off with, I can't remember, we were with Delta Airline or what we went with. And that's where we got caught in the act. It was because we forgot which airline we were. And maybe later on we switched to United or something. That's where we got caught. And so the guys just like, their ears like perked up. And
they're like, ooh,
who are these ladies who are flight attendants? Tell us more. And so would they have been interested in us if we weren't flight attendants and we're simply physicians? It's hard to say, but I've noticed in the past when I have mentioned to some guys, not all men, being a physician, then they just kind of step back a little bit. And somehow, like, I just felt like there were selected cases where I was like treated differently, In
a positive or negative light? Or they just don't, they don't come forward as much. They don't really like hit on you as much.
Like they just didn't seem to see me fully as this, potential person of interest. I don't know. Maybe I'm making assumptions on my part, but it felt different. It felt different. But in this instance, when we were flight attendants, the interest came on strong. And so it was like, tell us about your work and what do you do? And then from there, it led to getting to know each other. And we had such a fun time until the end of the night where somehow it came up again, and she and I forgot which flight attendant
Chrystene, if they made you like rehearse the whole safety protocol.
We worked for, and interestingly enough, there were the group of three guys, and one of them got really upset. He was really upset when he found out. The other two friends just laughed it off, and he gave us a lecture.
He gave a lecture?
Yes, he said, you two
God.
are physicians. You should be proud of what you do. And I'm like, I am proud of what I did. This was simply like something that.
Did you share that it was a social experiment?
Well, yeah, we did tell him, but he was so upset.
Oh,
but interestingly enough, there's a funny, end to the story is that we actually ran into him again like a few months later.
Uh-huh.
And we talked about it and we all laughed about it. And we decided for that Halloween that we were going to go dress as flight attendants and they would dress as the pilot. And so,
Oh my God. Wait, how did you run into him again?
just, around the area or like just the local restaurant.
Right,
we were just like hanging out. And so,
oh my God, that's hilarious.
And so, but it was very interesting through that experiment that we didn't intended, to be involved in. But I couldn't help but wonder when a guy, whether he's a physician or not, or, whether a professional or not, what is the potential interest in someone hearing that they're a professional woman versus not, and
I mean, this would be cool if this was like a Survey Monkey or some sort of poll. But I think at the end of the day, when you're trying to attract your partner, right, it's really, it goes back to that expression, it's just not your cup of tea, right? So if someone is upset from that joke, right, they can't even, have a sense of humor, or if they're intimidated, then they're just not, for you. So it's just, you're having a laugh, you're having a good time. I remember, just this year alone, I went on like 3 speed dating events. And, when I mentioned the words physician, their ears kind of perked up, and I'm always afraid of gold diggers. And I'm just like, people hunting for certain, professions. And I'm just like, I don't want that, for myself.
I hear that from
from your male colleagues.
My male colleagues or other professionals.
Right.
Sure.
Because it's a misconception. It's a myth, like, we'll talk about it, a lot, but, we come, most of us, graduate with a lot of debt, and healthcare, the way money works is just not really so much in our favor. And, that's a whole nother, podcast, but it's, the misconception is really, going back to what I was saying before, we're human beings, and we're the doctor, the physician part of us. That's not who we are, like at our core identity. We have our individual beautiful qualities and attributes and characteristics that really make up who we are. I know you as Chrystene. You're bubbly, you're so social, so much energy, you give so much light, and I'm sure people listening will agree. And you have this love of bringing people together in the community, so that's you, on a personal level.
Oh, you're so sweet. If you keep going, you're going to give me diabetes at this rate. Okay, good. You're spiking up my blood sugar right there, Colin.
Oh, man. We told ourselves that we got to throw in like a cheesy medical, pickup line. So let me run a couple of them. So, are you a defibrillator? Because you're sending shocks to my heart.
Oh, I'm doing that. Oh goodness, Colin.
I think you're suffering from a lack of vitamin E.
Am I? Well, are you a ventricular depolarization? Because you are a QT.
Everyone's like, bada-bum. Come on, guys, laugh with us. So we can't wait, to get more into our selective episodes. We have so many great, diverse ranges of guest stories and experts. And we wanted to conclude another thing about, how we also came together as lifestyle medicine. And so part of lifestyle medicine is really the personal development, the relationships, the connections, pillar of lifestyle medicine.
Absolutely.
And for those of you who don't know what lifestyle medicine is, it's, using evidence-based lifestyle approaches to prevent, treat, and reverse chronic disease, lifestyle-related chronic disease. And so a part of that is also talking about self-care and resilience. And wouldn't you say, yes, we're talking about attracting the other partner, but wouldn't you say that self-care and resilience and developing that self-relationship is just as important?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it all starts with us, even though we're talking about relationships, meaning, with like someone else, but that relationship has to start with us. And as I mentioned earlier, it's so important that we know ourselves, and knowing ourselves also involves taking care of ourselves. So the self-care, the self-discovery, which, we're going to go into a lot deeper in our future episodes as well, to be able to, before we can give to others, we must give to ourselves. And we forget that. We forget to give to ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's really important. And so I'm really, excited about what's to come and how, our journey has brought us to this point. And yeah, can't wait to dive into more conversations with you and with all of our guests, our exciting guests that we have lined up for you.
I'm super excited.
Yeah. And this is a learning process for you and I as well, as although we're both single, but we're going to invite a lot of our friends and colleagues who are committed and partnered. And
this is not for just single people. This is also for committed, those are in committed relationships, and also, everywhere in between, which we call, I guess, what's the trendy word now? Situationships. It's everyone. So we definitely want to invite everyone, on and off, in the healthcare space. But we are focusing because we just love this profession. We love our peers. We love our colleagues. And a lot of times, we want to amplify, our voices, because I think that our voices is probably the singular most powerful instrument that we have. And it's very, very important to give space, give a platform, and give an opportunity for those that may not have that chance to speak up, or just giving, a space to be able to get heard, especially in the relationship and dating world.
Yeah, and I feel like there's so many untold stories. Like you and I have been blessed and to be able to meet so many of our colleagues through the last couple of years, and certainly COVID turned our lives upside down, and it really highlighted the fragility of life. And but the silver lining was that it brought us together and our communities together, and we've been really blessed to make a lot of friends, and some of which I would easily say friends for life, including you, Colin. And so through that, I think we were in a position to hear a lot of stories, and stories that feel like needs to be shared. Everyone's stories is so unique, and I'm just so completely inspired, and we'd love to bring those stories and share them with you, and we all can be on this journey together to learn and share tips with one another and how we navigated this world, in the world of dating and relationships, which we feel like it hasn't been
really told. Yeah. Because there's plenty of dating relationships podcasts you can binge on, but how many?
It's from our perspective.
Yeah, it's from our perspective, from a medical perspective, people of color, right? And just giving, that voice, a really authentic, true, raw, voice, and just sharing stories. I think the premise of this is really about loving love, sharing stories. There's so much beautiful richness and storytelling. And, that includes, the people in the scrubs, in the white coats, right? Underneath that professional, attire and mask, and we want to kick back and be able to kind of, give them a platform. So guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Chrystene. I can't wait. I can't wait, to be able to go on this journey with you and, share these wonderful, wonderful stories of these amazing, people. Any last words?
Yeah. And so we invite you to come join us on this journey. If you have come join us on this podcast or have other requests for specific topics, please don't hesitate to let us know. We want to be a platform where we can amplify your voices and bring you the value that, that we feel that we want to deliver to our community. And in the process, we are certainly have gained a lot already from just being blessed with being part of this community. So I can't wait to be able to roll out, all these fun episodes, and we want to have some fun with this along the process as well too. And so, so come join us for some fun, some stories, some action,
some laughs, lots of laughs. We're gonna have a lot of laughs. We had a lot of laughs just trying to film all this. So, But community and relationships are very important. We'll leave in the show notes how to contact us. You can watch us on YouTube. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the major platforms. And we can't wait to see you guys on the next episode. So bye.
Bye for now. Bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching and listening to this channel. If you enjoyed this, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you felt like this was a benefit for someone else, please let them know as well.
As a reminder, this channel does not offer medical advice. All opinions expressed are ours and our guests only. It is for general informational purposes only and does not replace professional healthcare services. Please consult your own healthcare provider for any medical issues you may have.
Until the next episode, whether you're in and out of your scrubs,
Please remember to love yourself and others and lead with kindness.
bye.